Welcome back to Two Brothers Comics, where today we are going to be talking about the most controversial part of what we do as collectors. We're going to be talking speculation. So stay tuned. All right, Nick. So we're going to talk about something today. This is something that people would consider to be a four-letter word sometimes. People would consider this to be kind of almost derogatory if someone was to call you a speculator. I think that's kind of a little overboard because there's so many realms to this speculation game. And not every part of the speculation game is a bad thing. Not every person who plays a speculation game is just some mean person that's trying to keep books out of your collection. That's not how this works. And I thought today maybe we could kind of talk about that a little bit and talk about, what speculation means to us and just how we've dealt with it, whether when we tried to do it ourselves, how we use it with our collecting now, and why we don't do certain parts of it anymore. So, Nick, when you hear the word speculator, comic book speculation, spec books, what does that bring to your mind?
So the absolute first thing I think about when I hear speculation, spec books, any of that, being quite frank with you, I think top 10 list. All these hot top 10, gotta buy these books. They're critical, and I think some people do it from the aspect of, hey, go do this so you can make a quick flip on it, and kind of from a scalping perspective. And then there are some people who genuinely, just to point out, like Simple Man's Comics, their FOC video, they're going to highlight some of the, more not speculatory. They're going to highlight some of the hotter books, but it's from a perspective of, hey, go ahead and order them before they become scalped and before they're starting to be flipped, so that you can go ahead and get them on your pull list.
They use it as a tool to help you as a collector out, and I feel like it's kind of like we do a top picks list every week. And I've talked about it several times during those videos, that the books we choose to go on those lists are books that most of the time we are reading. These are books that have great stories. We love the artwork. We love the writers. These are books that we are invested in to the stories, the actual, the medium that you're picking up. But that doesn't mean that sometimes the books that we put on there is not a hot book. It's not a book that's going to hit that spec book term. So, exactly. Like you said, the top 10 list, these spec book, hot book lists, that's definitely a big part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so to me, again, when you ask, what is this, what does it mean to be, or what does speculation kind of mean? What does it think about or make you think of? That's immediately what it makes me think of. And I think back to whenever we first started collecting, and it was basically a huge case of FOMO, which is kind of a whole nother topic, but it was every single new comic book day, because at the time, I had my pull list, but I was always worried about missing out on that hot ticket item. And again, it was strictly FOMO, right? And it wasn't from the standpoint of I wanted to go buy it to flip it, because I hate eBay. I hate reselling things.
The fear of missing out on something that was great.
Exactly. And I would go and I would look up all these hot 10 lists, top picks, which I think some of them are very great, because they're doing it from the standpoint. Some of them are very similar to ours, where it's, hey, these are some really good stories, but they are going to be limited print, or they're already sold out at the distributor. If you can find it, grab it, because it's going to be a book you want to read. Yeah, Kanto. Kanto was a big one, man. We both missed out on that first day. And that was partly due to just a lot of damage and chippings and things like that. But for me, I used to be that guy where it was, let's go to every top list we could find. I'm going to buy every book I can get my hands on because there might be a story or something in here I was going to be missing. Now, a lot of great things came from that. Kanto, Woven Heart. I remember that being on the list before I kind of just quit with all the top 10 list. And that was later on, obviously, collecting, but that kind of led me to Mad Cave and some of these other books, right? I mean, that I will say the top 10 list definitely put me on more of an indie path to where I love these indie books than the Marvel DC stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, absolutely, man. And the top 10 list is probably something I think of too, because it seems like no matter where you go, you're going to see them on here.
Yep.
And part of that, I think, is, you know, we know that those lists, those videos that where you do those top 10 lists, if it's something that's going to help somebody make some money or give them the feeling that they're going to have a leg up on the competition to get that book, it's going to drive mad numbers on your views. Yeah. You know, there are channels out there that, you know, they don't care nothing about the speculation, but they know if I make a what's going to be the best books to buy for 2020 or 2019 list, you know, people are going to watch it. It's going to hit that algorithm correctly. And it's, you know, that might be the only video that hits the numbers it hits, but it's going to hit those numbers.
Yeah, and it's because speculation right now is such a big topic.
Right.
You know, all of this, you know, especially within the last 6 months, I feel like unless you have every single book on your pull list, there's no more new comic book day, walk in, pull books off the shelf, and just for the sake of, hey, this looks like a great cover, or I've heard about it, let me pull it off. If you don't have some of these books on your pull list, you're not going to get them. They're going to be sold out immediately. Like the Snake Eyes Dead Game book that came out recently from Rob Liefeld. You know, I didn't have that on my... Yeah, and Justin Birch, you know, a friend of the channel, so or member of the channel, or participant, whatever. But yeah, I mean, you know, that was a book, you know, I knew was coming out, and I was like, well, it's you know, just a G.I. Joe book from Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, I mean, the way people talk about Liefeld, I would have expected that, you know, 50 copies to be on the shelves everywhere for 6 months still, you know, but it's a number one. It's a character that is very loved, great writer, fantastic letterer. So I mean, it really did. That book had all the right things in place to make it fit that, well, something could happen with this book later on down the road category.
Yep. And so I never got it, and I still don't have it, and I'm not going to buy it because I tell you, in 6 months, all of the high prices on eBay, they're going to be down. I mean, if you look at some of the hot books that are of right now, give it 6 months to a year, they're going to drop. You know, very rarely are you going to have some of these big spec books that, you know, they come out and within the day or two they're selling for $25-$30, literally a few days after New Comic Book Day, or even the day of on eBay. Very rarely are some of those going to be, you know, retaining that value. And then, of course, you have other ones, you know, that are kind of a given, right? You have big characters like Miles Morales. Miles Morales went under the table for so long.
Oh, yeah.
And finally, I think it's getting its due diligence, right? Because it's a brand new Spider-Man character for a whole new generation of people. But it's no different than Wally West coming out after Barry Allen, and then Barry Allen coming out after Jake Garrick. You know, that Miles Morales was the Spider-Man for the future generation. Everybody's going to love Peter Parker still, but Miles Morales has his place. You love him. You think he's your favorite Spider-Man for sure. And, you know, I think for so long, that was a book that went undervalued and under the table.
Yeah.
And that's a book where, hey, you know what? We probably should have bought it if we wanted a copy, you know, a year or two ago. But some of these books that are coming off the shelf, in like Robin King.
I'm so glad you brought that up. My turn. And here's the thing. When I see this stuff like this Robin King thing, and you guys can get mad if you want to, but this is not us making fun of or trying to, you know, just keep, you know, discern you from doing anything. When we say collect your way, we mean it. There's a reason why we say that. and we'll get into that in a few minutes too, because the speculation market, and when we first started collecting and trying to participate in buying and the books that were on these lists to invest in and spending the money and time to do that instead of the books we wanted, that is actually like, that is the organic reason that we say collect your way. So don't take anything we're saying here personally, but I feel like this is kind of how I feel about it. You talk about Miles Morales, Ultimate Fallout #4. There's so many people that don't have that book, including me now. Yep. I had it. I don't have it anymore. Am I salty? A whole canister of it.
And be clear about why you don't have it. It's not because you went and sold it for $500, $600, $1,400. You missed that wave.
Yeah, I had the book. I think I spent $75 on it. And I've been looking for it for a long time, and I finally saw it in a shop, because I hate buying online. Hate it. Only do it if I have to. Saw it in a shop, $75. I bought it. I didn't even crank my truck up before I sent Nick videos and pictures. So excited. Got it pressed and clean. Was going to send it to CGC. It was going to be right in the middle of my wall back here. And I ran into some financial problems. Needed some money like that day. So I was looking at books that I had in my collection and said, what can I get rid of that I can make the amount I need today, but I can more than likely go find this book in a month from now for around the same price, and it's not going to be hard to get. So I looked around and I saw my Ultimate Fallout. I was like, all right, this it's hot enough. I could probably get, I think it was like $100 I wanted. I needed for it. So I was like, I can probably get $100 for it today, and then I can probably grab for like 100, 120 in a month from now. Yeah. 2 weeks later, literally 2 weeks later, that book just absolutely went nuclear and shot through the roof. Yep. And I just kind of sat in my room up here and cried for about 3 days straight. It absolutely destroyed me, because I was like, well, that was one of those keys that I absolutely needed to have in my collection, and it won't happen. If it ever does happen to get back in my collection, it won't be for a very, very long time. But I look at it like this, with the Robin King thing. I feel like people really try to push some of these new characters to kind of be what a Miles Morales is, because they didn't get in on that book. But I got this one, so we're going to do what we can to make this character seem like they're going to be as big. So here's my problem with that. Nick, who is Miles Morales?
Spider-Man.
Spider-Man. Spider-Man is not no B-list character. He's not no shrug-off character. He is freaking Spider-Man. He's not a sidekick. He's not a guy that rides in the booster seat on the bike. He's not a guy that is always on the backside of the hero that really carries the brand. He is the brand. Robin King, Spider-Man. Yep. See how you can't see this hand anymore? I don't see it. I don't see it. I understand it's still Bruce Wayne. But again, this is going to be one of those books, and this is how I feel wholeheartedly. Do not take this as the Bible, because I could be 100% wrong. But in my opinion, if we look back a year from today, that Virgin cover, that 1 in 25, it might still be going for like $75, but it ain't gonna be going for $250. It ain't gonna be going for $300. The cover A is not going to be going for $25 or $30. That's probably going to fall off in another 2 months. It's just that I don't see how that character has legs. And so people start hyping these books and these characters up out of nowhere. And it gets into people's heads. And then we start getting into our own heads and thinking, everybody's got this book except me. This book is going to take off and I'm going to be the only one that's missing the train. And I promise you, you're not the only one that's missing the train. And you really have to think about it sometimes with this stuff. Why do you want this book? Is this a book that you wanted last week, 2 weeks ago? Is this a book that you wanted? Is this a book that fits anything else that's in your collection? Are you only wanting this book because everybody else has it? Is it that new shiny toy that everybody else has and you just sitting there getting to watch everybody else play with theirs? Well, guess what? That shine's going to fall off. It's going to get dulled out, and that toy is going to be put in a box and forgotten about, and it's probably never, ever going to amount to anything. And that happens more often than not. More often, the hot books, the fire dies out, and it never gets ignited again. Every now and then, yeah, a big time banger will come out of these, but it's the short term hype that really, really is what everybody's looking for. They don't actually know, the people that want to sell these books, and I'm talking about publishers, they want to hype these books up and hype up these characters. They don't care if that book ends up being a 2,000 book later on down the road in 20 years. They just want you to be excited about it today when it comes out, when it hits the shelves, so that you buy them all, it sells out, and they get their money. They don't care if somebody comes in and buys 45 copies thinking that they're going to be investing in their future, and 20 years from now you realize, wow, those X-Men #1s are not worth anything. So just keep that kind of stuff in mind, when you are buying into this whole thing of these hot books and these top 10 lists. If there's not 10 books every week coming out on New Comic Book Day that are going to end up being a $45, $55, $65, $100 book a year from now. It's just not.
Nope.
I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen. These top 10 lists come from knowing that they will get the views and knowing that you want to see it. And it's all about the algorithms and like I said, it's about the views. We know if we were to put out a top 10 spec books, top 10 hot books that are going to make you money every week, we would get the same amount of views. But
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think it does.
And I think, and again, it's fine, man. If some people genuinely thrive off of this stuff, and that's fine, man. If you're putting in your orders before FOC and you want 10, 15 books, and you're like, man, I think I can make a little bit of money down the road, that's fine. That's investment, whatever. But if you're walking in buying 40 books off the shelf before anybody gets a chance to go in and buy them because they have a full-time job and they can't show up at 10 o'clock on a New Comic Book Day, that's an issue for me. But I think these, it creates a whole new, like for me, for example, I originally started off with comic books, buying old books, because I enjoyed that. Then I got into the new comic books and I was like, man, these stories are really good. Then I started seeing all of these lists and I'm like, holy crap, I have some serious FOMO. I'm missing out. It just created a new quote unquote speculator where I needed to have everything because I might miss out on that book.
And then you shared that with me, so thank you very much.
Yeah, and I think it kind of does some injustice to some of the new collectors, which is another conversation later. But just, I don't know. I think just as a community, man, we need to be a little bit better about, going from investment, true speculation versus just scalping and flipping. Again, there's a huge difference there and definitely a conversation we need to have. But I don't know, guys. I mean, these are just some of the thoughts on comic book speculation. It's been a pretty hot topic here recently with, everybody kind of getting some extra income with COVID and things like that happening. And I think here recently it's been a little bit different of a ball game. So,
and it's a risky game to play, and the people who do well with it, it's because they do the research. They put in the time, they put in the effort, they take the risk. And I'm talking about the guys that put in for their books on FOC and they're making an actual investment in something. And these guys, a lot of times, these speculators that do this, and again, speculator, not a bad word. They're speculating and investing in things that they already love, things that they were going to buy anyway. They just might get an extra couple copies through their comic shop by ordering before the FOC. They're not taking books off the shelves, but they realize this story is fantastic. Something's Killing the Children is great. One day, 10, 15 years from now, this book could take off. And if it does, and I have a couple of extra copies and I can get them graded and make a little money on them, hey, that's great. That's fantastic. There's nothing wrong with that. Nick, is there anything wrong with people selling an X-Men #1 for more than 12 cents? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And there's no difference. There's no difference in not selling an X-Men #1 for 12 cents and having, 10 Something's Killing the Children #1s that you ordered before FOC. And then 10 years from now, the movie drops and it's fantastic and people are looking for those #1s. Look at Lock and Key. How long has it been since that book was out? People are looking for it. Look at The Boys. People are looking for that. And these
Umbrella
books,
Academy.
right. And people are paying the price for these books. And the people that put the work in the beginning, that did their research, who took the risk. That's the big thing. Remember, guys, took the risk, invested their personal money in these books. How long has this money just been sitting in these boxes? And they've been waiting and waiting, never knowing if it was going to pay off.
And some of them never do. I mean, we've talked to a couple people in the community, and I know you have, where they do this, right? They do pre-FOC orders, and they've said, hey, we have short boxes after short boxes full of these quote-unquote hot spec books that have never paid off, will never pay off, and haven't, just haven't.
And a lot of these guys that really have honed in and know what they're doing, I guarantee you, they're not paying attention to these top 10 hot lists because they knew what was coming out, what was worth investing in before the list even got made. And for those of you who are kind of new to collecting or maybe don't understand all the different aspects of investing and speculating on comic books, we're not telling you to not pay attention to these hot lists and these top 10 lists because they do help out. All we're saying is just remember those lists are coming out every single week. In 4 weeks, they're going to have 40, 50, 60 books on there that are going to be the next hot book. There's no way. There's no way. There might be one out of all of those that takes off. So just do your research, be smart about it, invest when you see an opportunity that you think is going to work. And if you invest in a book that you already love, then you're not going to lose anyway, because you're going to be happy you have the book because you love that story anyway. So it's just about being smart with your money, with your income, and not buying into the hype of everything that gets thrown out there, because we all speculate in one way or another. Nick speculates, I speculate. Nick, what's that book I got you? Me and Josh got you for your birthday.
Forever People #1, the first full appearance and origin of Darkseid.
And you've been wanting that book for a long time.
Yep, I love the color. I think Darkseid's an awesome character. Right now it's affordable, but the second he starts being rumored in a DC movie, it's going to be unattainable. And so it's kind of the book I've been watching.
Right there. That's the speculation. Nick, and I'm sorry to cut you off. I was just waiting for you to say it. That's speculation, guys. That's why I say speculation is not a bad word. Nick knows Darkseid's coming. He knows he's coming. He wants that book. And he knew right now it's affordable, but as soon as Darkseid hits the DCU, bam, out of reach. Can't touch it anymore. That's still speculation. Guys, you want to see a spec book that I have? Spec book I have? Right here. This is one of the best spec books you could have right now. Now, I want this book anyway. My speculation on this book is the same as Nick's with Darkseid. I wanted this book. It's already pretty expensive. And I was like, man, if I buy it now, it's a little expensive, but if I don't buy it now, in a couple years, when he actually shows up, it'll be unattainable. Absolutely unattainable. And at the same time, if I already have the book and it does go way up in price and the value increases like it will, it's a long-term investment. If something ever happens to me, if something ever happens to my job or you know, a medical emergency in my family, I've got some of these Silver Age keys that if I absolutely had to, I could unload. They've increased in value, and they're going to be something that I can use to take care of my financial situations. That's speculation, guys. So just always remember, like, don't turn your nose up at people who, you know, talk about a spec book or people who speculate on comics. They're just like everybody else. They just collect a little differently, but they're still collectors. They're still part of the community. They still love comic books. Now, the other people, the scalpers, we're going to talk about them in the next. We're going to talk about them in the next video, okay? And that's going to be a much different conversation. A much different conversation. But we definitely wanted to take the opportunity just to let you guys know where we were on the speculation market, that we have both done it as far as the investing side on new comic books. And it just, we didn't have the time, the tools, or necessarily just, you know, didn't care enough to continue to try doing it. We weren't good at it. We didn't make out on it. So we just gave that part of it up. But as far as speculating in general, we still do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So well, drop us a comment down below, guys. Let us know what your thoughts are on comic book speculation. We know it is, again, a very, very hot topic right now on both sides of the argument about whether it's good or not for the community and for the comic book collecting hobby as a whole. If you enjoyed the conversation, hit the like button. If you thought what we said was stupid, hit the dislike button. I don't care. Let your opinions be heard. And subscribe to the channel if you're into this kind of comic book content, unboxing, creator interviews, and join us every Saturday night about 9:30 Eastern Standard Time for our Comic Book Babble-on, where it's our live show, and Dustin and I and some guests, 9 times out of 10, Justin Birch, go on about a 5-hour conversation and community hangout every Saturday night.
Best thing we do, man. Best thing we do.
Absolutely. So as always, guys,
collect your way.
Collect your way.